Welcome back. Let's bring in Mr. Jide Ojo, who is a political and public affairs analyst. Mr. Ojo, thank you so much, and thanks for your patience. The situation at hand is quite important for us to weigh in on, because there were initial denials as to whether or not people were abducted, and now we have confirmation from the police. But I know we're here to talk politics, but maybe we can pick it from there as to your maybe quick comment on what has played out in Kaduna, state that has experienced some level of peace since the current administration of the current governor, and now this was literally turning everything on his head. 177, which is quite a record in the state in recent time, abducted. If you can help us unmute your device, Mr. Ojo, so we can hear you.
Very unfortunate. Good morning. First and foremost, Bukola, Kayode, and Geoffrey, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. My heart bleeds for the people in that community, 177, who went to worship God and ended up in the den of bandits. And I listened with rapt attention to Mr. Ruben Buhari that you just interviewed. And I was thinking, what can the government do? These bandits almost always target soft, vulnerable communities because it's much easier for them, it's less cumbersome for them, it's less dangerous, less risk to them, and they can always get the millions that they want. And in doing that, much as I agree with your submissions, all of you, that the police didn't do well in terms of communication strategy. Coming up with initial delay was not the best way to go. If you don't have an information, you say, well, we will investigate and get back to the public. Not to say, oh, it never happened. And then less than 24 hours after, you say, oh, it happened. Then we are seeing different figures, 177, 161. It doesn't matter. Every life is what matters. How can government secure lives of everyone, whether they are in remote communities or they are in township, in urban centers? We can't all live in the urban centers, in the cities, because the cost of living in the city is very expensive. I know what cost I run living here in Abuja. If I were to be in my village, perhaps I will be spending less than 10% of what I spend living in the cities. But by and large, whether you are in the cities or you are in remote villages, all of us are victims, like the book of Professor Isidore Okwewu of University of Ibadan, when he wrote a book titled The Victims, because everybody is a sitting dog. Whether you are an elite or you are a villager, everybody, there's nobody that is immune from this catastrophe of banditry. And it is for government to redouble efforts. I know government is doing something, but it's not enough. When I listened to Buhari and he talked about having to walk 20, 30 kilometers from the main route to some of these communities, I'm saying that there are even 10 more communities further inside. Then you ask yourself, what can the police do? What can the military do? Do they have enough manpower to deploy to every community? We have talked about having ungoverned spaces so long a time, which is why the president has come up to say, you know what, let's have forest guards, let's have police on VIP duties withdrawn so that they can complement their colleagues in the stations, and then also asking that 50,000 additional police should be recruited from last year. And we learned recruitment is ongoing, but it will take a bit of time to deploy more. Even with the additional 50,000, the ratio of police to police to citizens is still disproportionate. We have a population of over 200 million, and then if you have less than 500,000 policemen, so you do the maths, they cannot effectively police, which is why we need the state police law like yesterday. And the National Assembly needs to see this as an emergency situation to give us state police legislation so that states like Kaduna, Rivers, Lagos, Delta, Kano, and several other states who are endowed enough, who have the resources, can start putting also their own policing infrastructure beyond the vigilantes. We do know the vigilantes are ill-equipped. Even the forest guards, they are ill-equipped. The one that took place in Oyo State a few days after Christmas, they were forest guards. 5 of them were eliminated by the bandits. We didn't hear that there was any casualty on the part of the bandits that came to kill them. So unless you cannot go to a kitchen, you cannot go to a gun battle with a kitchen knife. When your vigilantes or Amotekun is carrying pump action or then guns, how can they effectively face someone with automatic weapons and rifles like AK-49, AK-47? So a lot still needs to be done. It's going to be a work in progress. We love the police, we love the military, but they need to double down. And it's not just about kinetic solution. Non-kinetic solutions still also have to be fashioned out, because the push factor, what is making people to go into banditry, you need to remove the enabling environment. What is the enabling environment? Increased unemployment, increased poverty. At least we know those two. Rising cost of living is pushing many people into banditry. In the South, where banditry is not so noticeable, we know the number of the rising number of internet scammers and fraudsters. People are engaging in what is popularly called Yahoo Yahoo. It's all part of it, scamming people and cyber bully and all of that, just romance scam and all of that. So when you want to remove or reduce crime rate, you just don't look at the arsenal alone. Buying more guns, recruiting more hands, more boots on ground.
All right, Mr. if I may comment,
you need to remove the enabling environment that makes people to feel comfortable to go into such criminality like banditry.
Mr. John, let me come in for a moment, Mr. John, so that we can move from that. You know, I just need your take. You made great points as well as far as this issue of the incident, and you built it on to the issue around state police. Now, the elections are coming, and what has been going through my mind, first I realized that we may call these spaces ungoverned spaces and all of that, but somehow ballot boxes find themselves or find itself in these places because elections hold across Nigeria. So I don't want to believe that it's only seeking for votes that these places will find the presence of government or agencies of government. They should also find some level of development in this area. But let's talk about core politics. Hakeem Baba Ahmed talked yesterday about what may be playing out in the ADC, which is looking like the other alternative apart from the PDP, given what is playing out in the PDP, which is what I want us to build on. Because the reason in a democracy is the luxury of choice that must be given to citizens, because it looks like the APC has gotten its act together as far as the 2027 election is concerned. But the argument is the fact that the elites and the appointees of government are the ones seen like that the grassroots is not purely as bought over in that sense as the people at the very top. So what do you see playing out, given some of the permutation that has been listed that may happen to the ruling party? 2 ruling parties, for instance, PDP fear of not having a candidate, ADC, for instance, concerned that when perhaps Atiku gets the ticket, because that's the permutation is given, according to Baba Ahmed, others will find themselves out of that party and will maybe back to ground zero.
Well, unfortunately, that's the scenario as of today. But, you know, things could change in the coming weeks. There are 19 registered political parties today in Nigeria. And more are likely going to be registered by INEC, maybe before the end of this month or next month, because I know the process has been on. Remember, 172 political associations applied to INEC under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. 14 were pre-qualified. I was asked to upload their details, and only 8 did that within the time frame. So I think they are doing the assessment of the 8 since October, and I want to believe that 3 months is sufficient for them to have concluded the arrangement. So there will be at least additional 8 political parties. So if there are crises in PDP, in ADC, there are alternate platforms. In fact, look at the governor of Osun State. He decided not to go to ADC, even though the national secretary of ADC is from his state and happens to be his former colleague, former governor. I'm talking of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. He decided to pitch his tent with our core party. So today, our core party is among the parties that now have a governor. And so a lot of alignment and realignment will happen. Alliances will be built. And let's not just be fixated on the opposition. I've said time and again that even PDP, even APC, the ruling APC, may have some tremor after the party primaries, because not everyone who is rushing to APC today will get automatic tickets or will have will succeed at the party primaries. And when that happens, you are most likely going to find many of the decampees to APC moving out to alternate platforms. And the question is, as the opposition, have they gotten their hands together in such a way that when the implosion happens in APC, they can reap bountifully from that implosion. Now, ADC is finding, if you see what's happening in the media space, Atiku has said repeatedly he's not going to step down for Peter Obi. And the Obidian movement are watching. 2 issues are plaguing ADC as of now. The issue is the reason why Atiku lost in 2023 is because he's a northerner, and the power ordinarily should shift to the south. So that's why Nyesom Wike led the G5 governors to work against the interest of Atiku, that they cannot in good conscience support another northerner to be the president of Nigeria for another 8 years. So if Atiku becomes the candidate of ADC in the coming months, definitely there will be reaction from the southern political juggernauts within the party. So far, it's Peter Obi that have brought some verve, some excitement into ADC. I watched the live transmission of his former defection from Labour Party to ADC on December 31st, 2025. And on that day, at least about 4 senators from Southeast, about 16 House of Reps members from Southeast, and an indeterminable number of State House of Assembly members said they were defecting with him. When Atiku Abubakar defected weeks before, towards the end of November, I didn't see any serving lawmaker or governor defecting with Atiku Abubakar, yet he wants to be the front line in terms of determining who will succeed or who will be the candidate of ADC. And the rumor mill has it that Atiku has been a very good benevolent spender when it comes to party primaries, which is why there are fears in certain quarters that he may have spent P2B, particularly if they are going to do indirect primary. And the question then arises, if whether he spends or he doesn't spend, let's leave the issue of spending or inducement, let's leave it out of the equation. Assuming without considering that in a free and fair primaries in ADC, Atiku emerges, I can see Peter Obi likely going to lead the ADC for another party. He has said unequivocally that he's going to be on the ballot in 2027. What does that tell you? If somebody says, I will be on the ballot, it's only the prime candidates, the candidate of the party that will be given certificate of return, even though it's the logo of the party that will be on the ballot. But what Peter Obi means is that he's not going to play a second fiddle. And even within the obedient movement, he's having serious issue with them, because there are a section of obedient movement that feels that his commitment to serving one term is not ideal and it's not acceptable to them. Why should it be the turn of an Igbo president and he will say he will do one term? Which then brings us to the whole argument of what happened under former President Goodluck Jonathan, who during the negotiation for 2011 election, he committed to doing one term. At least we know from two people, former President Olusegun Obasanjo said it, and former governor of Niger State, Babangida Aliyu, said it, that Goodluck Jonathan committed to doing one term, which was why the North rally around it. And remember, Geoffrey Kayode and Bukola, that the emergence of Goodluck Jonathan in 2011 led to bloodletting in at least 12 northern states, where over 800 people were killed, according to Human Rights Watch. And now, the turn of 2015, Goodluck Jonathan reneged on the alleged gentleman's agreement and decided to be his own man, and recalled the PDP saying they printed only one presidential nomination form. Even when the son of Tafawa Balewa wanted to buy the form, they said it's not available. When the former wife of Abiola, a lady, said she wants to buy the form, they said they only have one form. And that's what led to the defection of Atiku Abubakar and some governors from PDP at that time. So history beckons. If Peter Obi now said he's committed to one term, can we actually, in good conscience, take that to the bank that he will not renege if elected president? So, but all of that is in the future.
It's on the strength of the possibility of the repetition of history that Mr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed spoke when he said that Atiku Abubakar will likely emerge and ADC will bleed. That's at the coming primaries. That's the expectation. And you have backed it up by saying that, Mr. Atiku Abubakar is known to be a big spender during primaries, and he may outspend the other presidential hopefuls. And, the ADC has quite a number of them. There's Peter Obi, there's Rotimi Amechi. Now, if they all acknowledge this unspoken truth, why do you think they all flock to the ADC nonetheless? What's the game plan here? Because Mr. Peter Obi, don't forget, has said with certainty he will be on the ballot.
So the issue is that this may be a temporary shed for someone like Peter Obi. Don't forget that he hesitated for 6 months. He was non-committal after the unveiling on July 2nd. He didn't formalize his membership. I think at that time he was perhaps waiting for the registration of additional parties. You remember, there's this ADA, I don't know the full meaning now. ADA was said to be the initial game plan of the coalition party, or the third force, as they call it, that they were all going to move into ADA. So when INEC was not forthcoming in the registration of ADA, they now decided to go to ADC. Now, ADC, like we know, whether it's Atiku that gets the ticket, whether it's Obi that gets the ticket, either of these two, even if Amechi gets the ticket, there will be a backlash. Definitely there will be. The reason being that if Peter Obi gets the ticket today, does he have the clout for the North to trust him with their votes? Where will he get the bulk of the vote? When he made Dati Baba made his running mate in 2023, what is the value addition that the candidacy or the candidacy of Dati Baba Ahmed brought to the ticket? It was all Peter Obi and the obedient movement. So the issue is that unless there is a very robust negotiation, that one, if Atiku Abubakar can swallow his pride and withdraw from the race and throw his weight behind Peter Obi, they will make a good showing at the polls, but that still does not guarantee them success. What can make them to be successful is if they have a very clear pathway to victory. And that's why in the last few days, there has also been insinuation that President Tinubu may also jettison the Muslim ticket in order to bring in a Christian vice presidential candidate in 2027. It all would depend on what the opposition is bringing to the table. Right. If Tinubu sees that going on the Muslim ticket for another time will cost him the presidency, he will plead with Kashim Shettima, find another political appointment for him, and pick his a Christian running mate, because he will be studying the situation. Right. But the issue for me, whether it's Amechi, Peter Obi, and Atiku, all the three of them are campaigning on one thing: we are going to do one term. We are going to do one term. And that is a sign of desperation. Because, like I said, history beckons. This is the same thing Goodluck Jonathan said, but they don't keep to it. Can we then trust this current crop of politicians that if they are trusted with power, they will not tell you, oh, that's the gentleman's agreement, it's not constitutional.
Oh, Mr. Ojo, if there's anything we've seen over time is that, well, we've seen it time and again, so we can almost predict what will happen in the future, except, of course, there's some divine intervention, right? But they always say there's a god of politics, right? But I want you to speak to the permutations, and I like the way you've actually broken everything down. This is perhaps an episode that political science students should watch time and again to sort of understand how things are playing out in the country. And I think the party you were referring to is All Democratic Alliance, I think the ADA that they wanted to form then.
Yes.
So yeah, which would be most appropriate? Because clearly opposition needs to have a very strong candidate. And if there's anything we've seen, it looks like they're just split across different lines. So Peter Obi has his own supporters who say they will not agree. Atiku Abubakar has his own too, and on and on and on. So which would be the best opposition party right now? Would it be the PDP, maybe let's say a renewed PDP, a cleaned and fixed PDP? Would it be the ADC as it is right now? Would it be, who knows, the Labour Party? I mean, there are other parties, but which identity do you think the opposition should rally around and say, this is what we want to use to at least run against the ruling party?
Okay, my own permutation is this. Time is running out for them, and the options are very limited for opposition. Don't forget, latest by next month, INEC will roll out the notice of election and timeline of activities. Constitutional, I mean, according to Electoral Act, it has to be done 360 days to the next election. So, and party primaries will happen around July, August, September, depending on when INEC decides it's going to happen. And you see, the biggest challenge that all of these parties will face is that unless they have appropriate political structure in place, they may find themselves in the lodge. What do I mean by appropriate political structure? You are supposed to have ward structure, you are supposed to have local government structure, you are supposed to have zonal structure, state structure, zonal, and then the national. Right now, ADC is planning to have its own congresses, maybe between now and March, which is going to be helpful. But you see, the bulk of the opposition, particularly whether you talk of PDP and ADC, in the main, they are still facing litigation. And in litigation, you cannot predict how it will end. And so, again, we need to be very careful to think that ADC is free and can do whatever, because there are those who have gone to court. At least I know of one or two cases, one by Jumebi Kachuku. I think there's another faction that have also taken ADC to court. And while the litigation is ongoing, you cannot definitively say this is how it will pan out, because by the time the case gets to Supreme Court, if it is the faction that INEC has recognized that now loses, it then put them in jeopardy, which is why PDP has lost about 8 to 9 governors out of 12 that they brought to the table in 2023. So litigation is an impeding factor, but assuming INEC is able to register the new parties now, and ADA happens to be among the pre-qualified, they can all enter into ADA as a co-founder, and that would take away the issue of litigation. And then they can quickly run their congresses, put the structures in place, because it's the structure that wins you votes. It's the structure that you can give money and go to sleep, that they will do the bidding of why you gave them the vote, to do campaigns, to rally, to do door-to-door. If you don't have that kind of structure, you can be a billionaire and your money will go down the drain. So, as of today, ADC, which is the main opposition party, still have a kind of interim structure in place. And they are planning to have their congresses and convention for later this year. I have not seen their timetable, but it is in their best interest to have this structure in place, so that it is this national working committee that is elected that will now run the primaries, and then things will take on from there.
Ms. Ojo, thank you so much. That's why we need to start mainstreaming this conversation. We're just getting started. It's January. By next month, we expect some rollouts from INEC. Also, we're also looking at the direction of the National Assembly, especially the Senate, which has been a bit silent about the Electoral Act, whether or not that can turn the scale in terms of, you know, some of the amendments that are coming forth from the previous Electoral Act. But we must thank you. Jide Ojo is a political and public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure. Have a great day, my brothers and sisters.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll switch gears to issues that has to do with law and legalese. But the focus will be the sub-national legislature. We seem to be fixated on the National Assembly. What exactly is going on with the sub-national legislature that arguably looks like an appendage of governors and godfathers that is a threat to democracy? That's the conversation next. Join us again.